Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCullough, and I am joined once again by my stalwart co-host Tom here, out for another day of enjoying black powder.
Oh, we got a good one today.
Now it looks like we have here today one of them newfangled magazine rifles that is clearly not worth buying when we have our trusty Trapdoor Springfields.
Right. Well, you sound like the Army, but yeah.
That's why I have my hat.
Yeah, what we have here is the 1885 pattern of the Remington-Lee, which is famous for being the first series of rifles with a detachable box magazine.
That looks an awful lot like the Enfield system there.
You would be correct, because this is the grandfather of that entire series of rifles.
Yep.
And if you come in and look at it, you can see there's a lot of family resemblance.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So this starts Hotchkiss. Lee, James Paris Lee, gets his first patent in 1875.
For a magazine,
But
it is a box magazine, spring-powered to feed cartridges, designed to be worn on the chest, so that when you're feeding your single-shot rifles, you pull around, and it would automatically push around so you could keep feeding from the same location every time.
How convenient. It's like a little ammo Pez dispenser.
Exactly. And so you can see the development of the magazine system, because he's thinking like, well, I have this patent and idea for this auto-feeding chest rig.
I say,
Yeah.
If it's putting the round in the same place, what if we put it in the gun?
And here we go. Yeah.
And voila, we get the 1879
Yep.
Remington-Lee.
Right.
So Remington, he approached Remington. Remington manufactured the rifle and supplied it to U.S. military testing. So the Navy actually bought a couple hundred of the very first pattern of Remington-Lees. But they had some issues. You can actually tell the first pattern because the bolt handle's like out here.
Yeah.
It's in front of the split bridge.
Yeah.
In fact, it looks kind of like a Berdan bolt handle.
Right. You actually have a series of videos you did many years ago going over the evolution of them back when you were looking at auction houses.
How bizarre.
Yeah. 1879, the 82, 85, and then the 1899, the smokeless version. You actually go through and show them off. So if you want more information, you can go talk to you.
Well, there we go.
Yeah. But one thing that I like about this is it is the last of the black powder Lee rifles.
Right.
And it is in 45-70. It uses a lot of the same things as the Trapdoor. Like this has the buckhorn sights. It uses the same bayonet that we don't have on here right now. So they really were trying to show how this would work.
And they did sell several thousand of these, the 1885s, also to the U.S. Navy.
And yeah, the Navy, the Naval Reserves, they bought thousands of them. And actually, this rifle is not one of those. It is the same pattern, the same model, same serial number range, just it was not sold to the Navy.
Right.
Which
means it's a lot cheaper.
Exactly, yeah, because it doesn't have an anchor stamped right there. I got it for a lot cheaper.
One of the cool things about the Remington-Lee is, unlike most of the rifles we're looking at, when they hit this technological transition to smokeless powder, most of the original magazine-fed black powder rifles just they just go away, and you have some new gun for smokeless powder.
Right.
The Lebel's sort of almost an exception. They kind of updated, but the Remington-Lee at that point already had a separate detachable bolt head, which that was introduced on this pattern. And in the 1899 pattern of Remington-Lee is when they go, oh, smokeless powder, small bore rounds, let's update the gun to use those. And in fact, the Navy ordered 5,000 of these. They only got about 4,000 of the 45-70 ones, and the remainder were the upgraded pattern in 30 Army caliber or 30-40 Krag. So not a lot of these rifles, magazine rifles we see, actually bridge the changeover from black powder to smokeless.
And then you do a couple little changes and go to the UK, and it not only bridges the gap, it continues on in service for years and decades.
Right. Of course, it becomes the Lee Enfield.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and one thing that I really like about this particular rifle is it's not like we have a little box magazine attached to the gun and you still charge it singly. It was designed to be fed from detachable magazines. You'd fire the mag, you'd take it out, you'd reload it with a new freshly loaded mag. So
insanity!
I know.
How can such a thing be possible?
Right.
Spare magazines for the troops?
And that is actually one of the concerns, like a lot of the military people had was, well, what happens if they lose their magazine? Is the rifle a stick at that point? And something a lot of people don't show when they look at these rifles is if you come in close,
Yes.
what happens when you don't have a magazine?
There is no magazine cutoff on this rifle.
There is not.
You can't hold the mag in reserve.
Right. And so if you want a single load with the magazine in, you can just load rounds that way. However, if you lose the magazine, what happens is a little spring steel shelf jumps
Pops
out into the feedway, so you can just single load. So no magazine, congratulations, you now have a single shot black powder rifle.
Functional. Instead of the rounds just going whoop and falling all the way through.
It becomes just a standard single shot rifle.
Hold on. I don't believe this sorcery. Allow me. By Jove. It does not, in fact, fall all the way through the rifle. Witchcraft.
Yeah. So it's a really cool system.
So you sort of do have a magazine cutoff. It is take the magazine out.
Exactly, yeah.
And when you need the magazine, put the magazine in.
Right.
And there's surplus, well, you'll never find it today except as very rare collector pieces, but the US military made web gear to hold bandoliers of these magazines and actually issued spare magazines.
It's funny, nowadays, these magazines cost more than some of the rifles we've looked at here on this little show. So, yeah, I've got a couple, but not a lot.
He means literally a couple. He's got 2.
Yes. But that is enough for us to practice and go
let's do
shooting.
some shooting.
So, 5 rounds. Would
Thank
you care?
you, sir. All right. Pops in, just like a Lee Enfield mag. Smooth bolt throw. That's pretty nice.
That is a good rifle.
That is a smooth shooting, fast shooting, heavy hitting. Nice.
Oh, yeah. If you've ever shot a Lee Enfield, any of the varieties, you recognize that bolt throw. Yeah.
Absolutely. Bolt handles at the back, cock on close. You let the rifle come up in recoil, and then you use the momentum of cocking the bolt to push it back down on target. Whew. But you know what Lee Enfields don't do? They don't hit with a 500 grain 45 caliber slug.
They do not.
Hoorah.
All right. So actually, I'm going to pretend this is a single shot. Like, oh no, I've lost all my magazines. I'm going to
That does appear to function.
Yeah.
Very
That little
nice.
shelf works just fine.
Yeah. It's kind of weird looking at it with the magazine out and just a hole in the bottom of the rifle, but
That's better.
sure enough, it does work.
Oh, one left.
But can you shoot it prone, sir?
Let's find out. All right. Yeah.
It would appear that you can, in fact, shoot it prone.
So that feels like a modern bolt-action rifle.
I want to try that.
Yeah.
And I've got a magazine of my own.
Woo!
The giant cloud of smoke obscured my view of the target and caused me to miss. And check this out. Drop-free magazines. Like, this is the rifle of the future.
It really is.
And, you know, hyperbole aside, this was, in fact, the rifle of the future.
I mean, in 1879 or 1882, or in this case, 1885, was there a more advanced rifle in the world? Or a rifle more closely associated with what we would consider a modern rifle.
I really think this, as far as I can think of now, this is the gun that would actually have the closest tie to the longest lived and most successful bolt action designs, because, well, we are just barely before the Mausers.
Right.
So for the Mausers, it's 1889 when we start getting the modern Mausers. But what's interesting there is the Mauser goes directly into small bore smokeless powder. Right. Yeah, there are earlier Mauser rifles, but they're fundamentally different designs. The Mauser 71 and 7184s, which we have looked at, check out those previous videos. The 7184 ain't got nothing on this.
Yeah, like, no.
Until
head and shoulders above.
Until here, the 7184, I think, was really our top-rated repeating black powder rifle.
Right.
And there is no world in which I would not rather have this than a Mauser 7184.
I mean, I would rather have this even going into the early, like in 4570, in black powder, even into the early 1900s, compared to a lot of the rifles going around in the world.
Boy, I hate to say this, but you compare this to the Lebel. The cartridge, I mean, it's just a question of, is the better cartridge enough of an advantage to outweigh the crummier design of the Lebel as a rifle?
From a logistics standpoint, fielding an entire army, the Lebel is probably a better choice, just due to the outranging in like volley fire and group fire and like defensive positions. But for the single person, the single soldier,
it's not an obvious decision, which kind of says a lot right there.
Right.
All right. We need to do some time trials and see just how fast this really is.
Let's go.
Yep.
You want to go first?
Sure.
Yeah. All right. So because we're shooting from the magazines on these, the first mag is going to be loaded with 5. The second mag is going to be loaded with 3. So we get our 8 rounds that we've been using for magazine rifles.
Yep. Just in case we go so fast that we lose count and try to shoot 9.
Exactly.
Now, we don't have the proper magazine bandoliers, so I've just kind of stuffed my magazines here in my cartridge pouch. It did occur to me briefly, do I want to use 1 magazine and then single load 3 rounds?
Oh.
I don't think so. I think it's faster to put in 1 magazine than 3 individual cartridges.
True, and this rifle was designed around switching magazines.
All I have to do to pop the mag out is just hit the button and it's going to drop. So actually, I'll stand over here so I don't damage your very valuable spare magazine.
I appreciate that.
All right.
All right, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, stand by.
Ah, 18.49.
Woo!
That was fast.
I kind of fumbled the reloads there a bit.
A bit, but man, that 5-round mag went like,
oh, yeah.
Were you doing middle finger?
No, okay. I was moving hand and everything, so I was not trying to do that little mad minute speed trick. Just quick. Yeah.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
18 and a half seconds. That is a doozy of a rifle. I like it.
Yeah. That is half the time of some of the rifles we've been looking at.
Yeah.
And like the bolt, like this is, we've been shooting this a lot because it's a lot of fun. So it had no issue with black powder fouling, sticking, or anything like that.
It hasn't even gotten sticky.
No. It feels as smooth right now as it did on the first round.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this Lee guy got something good here.
I think he did. I think, friendship with Mauser 7184 over, new best friend, Remington-Lee 1885.
Yeah.
The only thing that separates this from really keeping up with modern bolt-action rifles is the magazine capacity.
Right.
Which is exactly what the British eventually fixed on it.
Yeah.
So the early British ones had small capacity single stack mags as well. Yeah. But man, as soon as they hit the 10-round magazine, it's kind of interesting that the British abandoned the issue of spare magazines and went to charger clips instead.
I mean, when you have like an empire, though, I can sort of understand, like, okay, magazines are fiddlier and more expensive, especially in the context of the 1880s.
Yeah.
charger loading, but as we've shown, it can work as a single shot. It can work with magazines without.
I bet there are a lot of guys with trapdoors that, had they known about this,
Oh yeah,
would have been very upset to have trapdoors.
I know I would have been.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well,
All
I can't
right.
think. I can't think of anything more to say about this. Rifle, good.
Rifle, best rifle. All right, well, that is the end of the video for us here on YouTube. Now we are going to head back to the ammo lab and talk about loading the 4570, but we can't show that on YouTube. So if you'd like to see it, if you'd like to help support now 10 fantastic historical educational channels off of YouTube, you can come check us out at the History of Weapons and War streaming app, available on your computer, on your desktop, through your phone, through TV services like Amazon Fire and Roku. Available everywhere streaming services can be had. It's a subscription-based platform that helps support all of the channels in the community. So hopefully you will come see us over there. The link is in the description text. Thanks for watching.
Whoa! Where'd that go?
All right, that was fun.
21 seconds.
Woo! Hold on.
I think we found
Could
it.
you hold that, please? Thank you. Thank you.